How well do you think you know the story of creation?
And I don't mean just, can you recite the 7 days in order?
No, not at all. I mean, do you really know it? Because
Mm.
most of us, we have this very specific picture in our
Oh,
heads.
yeah. The flannel board from Sunday school.
Exactly. The smiling sun, some perfectly behaved giraffes, a nice little garden with a gentle stream. It's comforting. It's
They
safe.
very tidy.
It's so tidy. But what if I told you that if you peel back the translation layers, if you look at the original language and the analysis in the documents we have today, the story isn't tidy at all.
It's a lot wilder.
A lot wilder. We're talking about a deep, watery abyss. We're talking about blood symbolism. And I'm not kidding here. We are talking about dragons.
It definitely paints a different picture than the flannel board.
Totally. So, welcome back to the deep dive. Today, our mission is to unpack this very specific set of lecture notes and transcripts that analyze Genesis chapters 1 and 2.
And we're going line by line here. We want to move past the simple English reading and get into the etymology, the Hebrew roots, and the heavy spiritual symbolism that these sources present.
Right. And just to set the stage, because this is a big topic,
It's huge.
it's really important to note we are reporting on the interpretation found in these specific documents.
Exactly. The perspective here is that the text isn't just a history book or a science manual. It's a spiritual blueprint.
And the source material argues that every word, every color, every creature, it all has a hidden definition that really changes how you understand the whole narrative.
It does.
Okay, so let's dive in. The source starts with the author, Moses.
Right?
Now, we usually just assume Moses wrote Genesis,
Yeah.
but the notes bring up this massive logistical problem, like right out of the gate.
Yeah. The timeline.
The timeline. Moses lived around 1500 BC,
Hmm.
but Adam, that's what, roughly 6,000 years before that, biblically speaking?
And that's not even counting the creation of the universe itself.
So how could he possibly write about events he wasn't there for? Is he just guessing?
And that's the first hurdle the source has to clear. It suggests this wasn't research in the way we think of it. Moses wasn't out there interviewing eyewitnesses.
Right.
The source calls it divine inspiration, but it uses this very specific analogy to explain what that actually means. It talks about the view from a mountaintop.
Like a literal mountain.
It's a metaphor for perspective. I mean,
Yeah.
think about it. If you're walking in a valley, you can only see the few feet in front of you.
Sure.
But if you're suddenly pulled up to the highest peak, you can see the path from miles behind you and the path miles ahead of you all at the same time. You've stepped out of the immediate timeline.
I really like that image. So Moses is essentially getting this bird's eye view of all of history.
That's the idea. The source describes it almost like ghostwriting or dictation by the Holy Spirit. Moses is viewing history through a vision, seeing the beginning of time as clearly as if he were standing right there.
And the very first thing he writes down is that famous phrase, in the beginning.
Bereshit.
Bereshit. Yeah. And when we hear that, it sounds so grand, so heavy.
Right, like the start of a symphony.
Yeah.
The source even notes that in some translations, I actually mentions Chinese characters here, the phrase carries this massive philosophical weight.
But the notes kind of do the opposite. They simplify it.
They really do. They strip it down to mean, quite simply, at the start.
At the start. That feels a lot more functional, like you're opening an instruction manual.
It does. It signals the beginning of a process. It grounds it. But the real question is, what is the state of things at this start?
And this is where the source gets dark. Really dark.
It breaks down the condition of the earth into 3 Hebrew concepts: tohu, bohu, and tatu.
Okay, I've heard these before, but give me a refresher. Chaos, void, and the deep.
That's it. So tohu means chaos or lacking form. Bohu is void, just empty. But tehom, the deep, that's where the source gets really intense.
Because we usually just think of it as the ocean.
Just water, yeah. Maybe a dark sea at night. But the source connects tehom linguistically to the abyss, to the bottomless pit, or even the grave.
Whoa. So hold on. It's not just a dark ocean. It's like a watery tomb.
That is the specific imagery the source uses. It describes the state of the universe as tomb-like.
Wow.
It's a chaotic, empty, dark abyss.
No.
It's death. And it's hovering over this terrifying reality that the Spirit of God begins to move.
That completely changes the vibe. I mean, it sets the stakes so much higher than just turning on the lights in a dark room.
It's about bringing life into a graveyard.
Exactly. And that leads us right into day 1, let there be light.
But based on what we just said about the abyss, the source argues this isn't just about, physical photons.
Well, and spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't read to the end of the chapter,
Right.
the sun hasn't been created yet.
Correct. The sun is day 4. So this light is something else entirely. The source views this light as spiritual truth or goodness.
And the key action isn't just creating it.
No, it's separating it. The text says God separated the light from the darkness. So the source sees this as a rescue mission. It's separating light out of that pre-existing darkness, that abyss we just talked about.
It's an extraction.
It is. And this actually explains something you might have wondered about, why the Jewish day starts in the evening.
Yeah, I've always found that confusing. And there was evening and there was morning.
The source highlights that as a spiritual symbol. It represents the progression from that original darkness, the abyss, the death state, into light in life. You start in the evening, in the chaos, and you move toward the morning, toward order.
That actually makes so much sense. Okay, let's keep going. Day 2 and day 3. We get the firmament or the sky and then the dry land.
The firmament, or rakia in Hebrew, is described in the source as a hard space or an expanse.
Like a solid dome.
It reflects that ancient worldview, yeah. A solid dome holding back the waters above from the waters below. It's like creating a bubble of safety.
And then inside that bubble, the waters below gather and land appears. But knowing this source, dry land isn't just dirt.
No, of course not. It's viewed allegorically. If the sea represents the tehom, the abyss, the grave, then dry land represents something untainted by those dirty waters. It's a safe harbor emerging from all that chaos.
You know, there was also a funny little nugget in the notes about the plants on day 3. The source gets really particular about color.
Oh, the grass debate. Yes. What was that about?
The source critiques translations that might imply bluegrass.
Bluegrass, like in Kentucky.
No, something deeper. In some Eastern phrasing or Korean idioms, the words for green and blue can sometimes overlap linguistically.
Yeah.
You might describe a lush mountain as blue.
Huh.
But the source is adamant. The text says green herb, not blue.
Why does that even matter?
It's about precision. The source wants you to know that God isn't painting in abstract, shifting colors. We're not in some dreamscape. We're dealing with a precise, ordered reality. Even the chlorophyll matters. Okay, precision is good. And speaking of precision, day 4 gives us the sun, moon, and stars.
Right.
But the source says we've been reading their purpose all wrong. They're not just for telling us, when to wear a sweater.
Right, or when to plant your corn. The text says they are for signs and seasons, and the source unpacks the Hebrew word for seasons here, which is moedim.
Moedim, okay.
It doesn't mean spring or winter, it means appointed times.
Appointed times. That sounds formal, like meetings.
Divine meetings, festivals. A source argues these celestial bodies were created to mark God's calendar, the feasts and the holy days. It's a liturgical clock.
Wow.
And it goes even further with the stars.
The stars.
It connects them to spiritual beings, to angels. It references the morning star or the star of the Messiah. So looking up at the night sky isn't just astronomy. In this view, it's like you're looking at a spiritual hierarchy. The sun rules the day, the moon rules the night, and the stars are these angelic witnesses.
That is a beautiful image. But okay, hold on. Here is where it gets really interesting for me.
Day 5.
We are at day 5, the birds and the sea creatures. And this is where the source drops a bomb that just completely blew my mind.
I think I know what you're talking about, the tannin.
The tannin, yes.
Yes.
Now, most of our Bibles, they translate this word in Genesis 1.21 as great sea creatures, or maybe whales.
Right, just big fish.
Just big fish, right. But this source, it pulls no punches. It lists the meaning explicitly as dragons, serpents, or sea monsters.
It is a shocking translation if you're not expecting it. But the source is crystal clear. Genesis 1.21 depicts the creation of dragons.
Dragons in the Bible. But here's the logical problem I have, and I think any listener would have the same one.
Okay.
If dragons or serpents usually represent evil, Satan, the enemy, the snake in the garden, why on earth does God look at them here and say it is good?
And that is the fascinating twist. It's the core of the source's argument for this whole section.
So how does it resolve that?
The source suggests that we are seeing these beings before their fall.
Before they went bad.
Exactly. I mean, think about Lucifer. Before he was Satan, before he was the adversary, theology tells us he was a covering cherub, a beautiful angel of light.
Right.
The source argues that these sea monsters or dragons were part of the original perfect divine order. They were created good.
So on day 5, we have good dragons swimming around.
According to this interpretation, yes. Majestic, powerful, and totally uncorrupted. It really challenges our assumption that anything serpentine or, monstrous is inherently evil from the start.
So the source is basically saying that raw power and even what we see as chaos were originally part of the good.
That's the idea.
I am never going to look at a whale watching tour the same way again. I'll be out there looking for the good dragons.
And you should be.
Okay, so the waters are teeming with these good monsters. Then we get to day 6.
The apex of the whole project.
Land animals and nadas. And here the source zooms in on the language God uses, specifically the pronouns, let us make man.
Right, the us.
Who is the us? Is he talking to the angels?
The source says no. It analyzes the word for God here, which is Elohim.
Oh,
In Hebrew, that suffix, the Elohim, it indicates a plural. So Eloah is singular, Elohim is plural. The source suggests this points to the majesty or the complexity of the Godhead itself.
So like what Christians would call the Trinity, a dialogue within the divine.
That's the interpretation here, yes.
And the result of this internal divine dialogue is Adam.
Yes. And the etymology here is so visceral. We tend to think of Adam as just, a name. Hi, I'm Adam.
Right.
But the source connects the name Adam to the root Adam.
Which means?
It means red.
Right.
Bread, like blood. The source interprets Adam not just as a name, but as the red one or the one with blood. It signifies life, a being that literally flushes with blood. It's earthy.
That is incredibly vivid, the red one. And this red one is then given dominion.
Total authority.
Mm.
The source really emphasizes the command to conquer and to rule. Humans are placed above the birds, the cattle, and yes, even those great sea monsters we just talked about.
But despite being conquerors, despite ruling over the dragons, they're not eating steak dinners yet.
No, not at all. And the source points out this is a detail we often miss. The original diet was vegan.
Completely vegan?
Completely. Humans were given seed-bearing plants and fruit. The animals were given grass. And the source contrasts this sharply with what happens after the flood with Noah, where meat eating is finally permitted.
So in this original blueprint, there's no bloodshed for food at all.
None. And that's crucial to the whole picture the source is painting. You have the red one, full of blood and life, ruling over these massive creatures, but there is no death. It's perfect harmony.
No one is eating the good dragons.
No one is eating the good dragons.
It sounds like a completely different world. Now, the deep dive doesn't stop at the end of chapter 1. The source material pushes right into the beginning of Genesis chapter 2.
Right. It looks at the Sabbath, and then there's this weird little detail about rain that I'd never really noticed before.
Let's start with the Sabbath. Day 7.
The source focuses on two key Hebrew words here: kala, which means finished, and Shabbat, which means rested.
But God doesn't get tired, right? It's not like he needed a nap after a long week.
Right. And the source clarifies that rest here doesn't mean recovering from a workout. It means ceasing or stopping.
A deliberate pause.
A deliberate pause.
Oh,
It's a day that's separated and made holy. It's about completion, not exhaustion.
And then the scene shifts. We're in Genesis 2, and the source points out this moment when no shrub was yet in the field because God had not sent rain.
This is a really significant allegorical point in these documents. The source asks, why does the text even mention the lack of rain?
Yeah, it seems like a random detail.
It interprets rain allegorically as the word of God.
So no rain means no word.
Precisely. The argument is that the ground, which represents the human heart or the earth, it can't produce vegetation or spiritual fruit without the rain of divine instruction or spirit.
And the text adds another piece to that. And there was no man to till the ground.
Yes. It sets up this perfect equation. You need the rain god's provision, his word, and you need the tiller human effort, our work. Without both, the field is barren.
It's a picture of partnership.
A complete partnership between the divine and the human. You can't just have the rain and you can't just have the tiller. You need both to get the fruit.
So let's zoom out and ask the big question here. What does this all mean? We've gone from this watery abyss to light, to good dragons, to a blood-red human, and now to a field that's waiting for rain.
Well, if we synthesize what the source is telling us, it's that the creation story isn't just about, manufacturing a planet. It's a spiritual drama.
Right.
It starts in the absolute depths, the grave, the Tiham, and the entire process is one of separation, separating the holy from the chaotic. It's about bringing order out of the void.
It's a rescue mission from start to finish.
It is.
Yeah.
And it creates a world where everything, even the things that look monstrous and dangerous to us now, was originally declared good.
That, for me, is the key takeaway. The source just forces you to look at the potential for goodness in everything before corruption enters the picture.
Yeah.
It portrays a universe that is teeming with life, structured by these divine appointed times, and it's all just waiting for the rain of connection between God and man.
It really shifts your perspective. Instead of seeing the world as this, broken machine, you start to see it as a temple that was designed for something very specific, something holy.
It really makes you rethink the definitions we all take for granted. Here's a provocative thought to leave you with, and it comes straight from the implications of this source material.
Okay.
We talked about the Tannin, the great sea monster, being created and then called good. If the ultimate symbol of chaos and danger was originally designed as something beautiful and good, what does that imply about the nature of things we consider evil today? Is there a good dragon buried somewhere under all the layers of corruption?
That is a question worth meditating on.
Definitely. Go check your translations, look for the dragons, and we will see you on the next deep dive.